Well, earlier on I spoke to the broadcaster Sally Magnusson and began by asking her about life with her mother, who was diagnosed with dementia.
It was heartbreaking. I have to say, of course, that it's a very long journey for us. It must have been about 12 years, and within that there are plenty of normal times, plenty of laughs and joys, but the heartbreaking thing is to watch this, in our case, lovely, vibrant, feisty, intelligent, laid-back personality begin to change and begin to retreat in ways that you're helpless to stop. And that was, that, as I think everybody finds, was agony.
And you said yourself that her world was all about words. How does she cope with it?
She described it once as being like a long road getting further and further away from myself. And that was both, I mean, it was terrible to hear that, but also I was full of admiration that she was able to express it, because she used to be a writer and she was immensely frustrated at not being able to find the words that she wanted, of finding them, retreating further and further away. But at the same time, she was still able to use them and to appreciate them. Really quite far on in the journey, I once said to her mum, she was a bit miserable, I once said to her mum, should we have some music to make your heart soar? And she looked at me and she just sort of raised an eyebrow and said, do you mean S-O-A-R or S-O-R-E? And I thought, wow. And this is the extraordinary thing about dementia, that it's not a straight path you're on. You know, it takes lots of things away, but it leaves little bits of things that are able to come back.
And diagnosis is still a problem, isn't it, Sally? It takes a long time for people to realise that they are suffering from something like dementia. What was it like in your mum's case? When did you first realise that there was a problem?
It's very difficult to pinpoint the moment. In my book, Where Memories Go, I suggest that I noticed it for the first time on a holiday in Mull in 1999. Now, I know for a fact I'm only remembering that because I was taking notes at the time. So, you know, there were probably other moments before that. But on that holiday, she turned up at we were sleeping in different rooms in a guest house, and she turned up one night at my bedroom door with only half her pyjamas on. She had her pyjama jacket on and she had, fortunately, a pair of pants on, but no pyjama trousers. And I said, Mum, what are you doing? And she said, oh, she was on her way to the toilet and the door locked shut behind her, which is perfectly fine, but didn't explain why she would go out without half her pyjamas in a hotel where she might meet anybody. And there was just something, when I questioned her about that, just a slight sort of blank look that I registered at that time with a kind of feeling of disquiet, which later on, when everything was much more obvious, I looked back, I had these notes of that time and I thought, that's when it was beginning. But, you know, there were probably all sorts of signs before then.